So last week I talked about making money online with t-shirts and hoodies and how you can use websites like Teespring and Spreadshirt, Shopify, all these print-on-demand websites. And the reason that I liked doing that video was because one, the great feedback you guys had in the comments of that video, thank you so much for that, but also because I think it's one of the most realistic things you can do to make money online as a beginner. And that made me want to tell you guys a few stories today. So today I'm going to be talking about how I got started making money online and all the little things I used to do with like eBay and some other print-on-demand websites, and also how I started making my first bit of money, with Amazon and affiliate marketing, talking about budget camera gear. So today it's less of a tips video and more of a what can you learn from my experiences and what's realistic for a beginner. Like, how long does stuff take? What can you expect? How much money do you make as a beginner when you have no audience and no following? Because hint, I actually did all this stuff before YouTube. Anyway, let's jump into the video. Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake helping you create something awesome today. Welcome back to the channel. So for the new people here, my name is Roberto Blake. I'm a creative entrepreneur and I teach people how to make things, market them, and monetize them here on the internet. So if you're into that thing, like and subscribe. So yeah, let's do a little bit of a story time here. I remember when I first started making money using the internet. I always had a side hustle as a teenager, as a kid. I'm not shocked that one of the most popular types of videos on YouTube is how to make money as a teenager. If YouTube existed when I was a kid, well, first of all, I probably would have done something stupid and ruined my life. And then secondly, I would have probably been watching those videos for how to make money online because, it really would have mattered to me, especially, growing up, single mom, younger siblings. Money was something I always had anxiety about for a very long time in my life. Didn't stop in my 20s. It's something that I managed to get comfortable with in my 30s. And it all starts with little things. So let's talk about some of the first ways that I made money online as a beginner. What did I do? Well, when I was younger, back in the day, back in my day, it used to take 15 minutes for the internet to start up. And I think I'm barely exaggerating on that one. If you guys remember AOL, dial-up DSL, not a good time. Today's youth are spoiled with their high-speed internet, their Wi-Fi. Man, I would have literally, the things I would have done just to have slightly faster internet, swear. Anyway, so back when all of that stuff was getting started, I was an early adopter of eBay and an early participant in what we now call Flip Life, the thing that, Gary Vee loves so much. And it's practical because I was able to do it as a kid. And so my hobby when I was a kid, and this is a little bit of how much of a nerd I am. I don't know if you guys have noticed how much of a nerd I am. So I still have this hobby to this day. Obviously with quarantine, I don't get to get out and play. This is something me and my brother were super into a long time ago. So I used to sell Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering and Pokemon cards on eBay. I would sell them, I would trade, I would flip, okay? So I would also take some of those earnings and I'd go out and buy packs and start the process all over again. So that is how I started making money as a teenager using the internet. I made money online as a teenager with Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and Magic the Gathering. And to this day, I am still a big old nerd. Rocking the Blue Eyes Chaos Max, all right? So that was one of those things that I was able to get into fairly early, and it taught me and introduced me into the concept of making money online and, doing early stage e-commerce. And in my case, again, it was Flip Life, all right? But later, I actually got into doing commission artwork on the internet. There used to be these different types of websites where you used to have contests and you could do those kind of things, and it's still very prevalent today. So I was an early adopter to a website called DeviantArt. So DeviantArt, is something you may or may not be familiar with. And a lot of people do graphic design, digital art, creative work over there, and they attract a following. This is all kind of pre-social media, believe it or not. This is still when online forums were a thing. You guys remember online forums? You guys remember, X-Site online boards? You remember Yahoo Chat being a big deal? That's the era of the internet I came from. One of these days, just for fun, I know nobody will watch it, but I like doing videos for me, and one of these days I'm gonna reminisce and kind of look at the old internet and see if any of these websites are still around, and I'm gonna kind of maybe roast or rate them or do a tier list. I really want to do some videos. I mean, and again, you tell me if you like this in the comment section. I want to do some videos revisiting some of those old websites that I grew up with and see if they're still around, and see what does Angel Fire look like today. And let's maybe even see if we can find it in the Wayback Machine and compare it to now. What is GeoCities doing today? Where are they now? You know what I'm saying? So that's just something weird I think would be fun. But yeah, I used to do commission artwork over on DeviantArt. And eventually, I think even before college, I started selling shirts on Cafe Press and on Zazzle.com. Zazzle.com was another one. So these print-on-demand websites for selling t-shirts online, you could make money. It wasn't a lot, but it was still again, $3, $5 for shirts. And by the way, I wasn't just selling shirts. I was also doing typography. When I went to college for graphic design and advertising. And so I was making these typographic posters at the time. And so I was making a few bucks off of those as well. It's not just t-shirts and hoodies. You can actually do things with your typography, your illustrations. And so that's what I was doing, and I was making money. I'm an anime nerd, so on DeviantArt I was doing some commissions for stuff like that, and that's how I was making money as a teenager and then in my early 20s with the internet, before YouTube ever existed, before you could ever earn money from YouTube ad revenue, before people really knew what e-commerce was, before Shopify, before all of it. Before I knew about the Amazon affiliate program. That's how I was making money online as a beginner. And like I said, it wasn't anything fantastic. It wasn't anything that was allowing me to quit my day job at the mall or whatever, but I was freelancing. And I was making good money from that. And eventually I would still do that in moonlight throughout most of my corporate career as well, just trying not to do anything that violated my contract. If I couldn't do design stuff, then I was doing photography on the side, finding clients locally, also through the internet, through local websites and things like that. So I was always hustling. I was always trying to figure out how to make that extra money because I really needed it because I was broke. And I made a couple of videos talking about that experience. In fact, I'll link you to my When I Was Broke playlist of the videos that I made talking about that. And so, yeah, that's how I was really doing it. Now, back at that point in time, you didn't have the websites that you have now to do freelancing. So back then, there wasn't Fiverr and there wasn't Upwork. Freelancer.com existed, and Upwork actually used to be two different websites. It used to be Odesk and it used to be Elance. And I was doing a lot of work whenever I could on Upwork and on Elance. And I was making pretty decent money doing that kind of work. And so I was using every skill I had, whether it was editing people's photos, usually using Adobe software, stuff that I had access to, especially through the school. And also I was doing a little bit of video editing in the early days at that time, believe it or not, graphic design, even helping people with websites in the early days of WordPress because I could code, which was a very popular skill to have at that time. Back when I was in college in 2002, they didn't consider web design a real profession, if you can believe that. Man, what a difference 2 decades makes. So, that gives you a sense of how fast things can move, right? But that's how I was getting started. I was doing freelance work. I was selling stuff on eBay from time to time, and I never focused enough on any of this to make a living off of it. But I do believe that if I had not, been working at the mall for $6 an hour, selling an hour of my life for the equivalent of a Subway sandwich, and then spending that money on food at the mall, milkshakes, saying, those last 2 hours I just worked to make $12, I'm gonna put it directly into the food court, and I'm going to trade 2 hours of my life for this meal that if I had known any better, if I had thought about it, I would have just tried to get 5 more sales on Zazzle to make that same amount of money. Or I would have kept mowing lawns, doing that in like an hour and a half to 3 hours. I was making 50 to 60 bucks. I would have just tried to get more lawn care clients instead of working at the mall for $30 after a whole day, $30, $40, and then spending half of it to eat lunch there. And then the rest, to hang out with my friends at the arcade. I would have done it differently. And that's kind of why I think I make these videos even today, is what would it have been like if I had access to all the cool stuff that we have today, right? And what if somebody, some random guy on the internet, had put any of these ideas in my head? What would I have done with that? What would I have done with the extra money from selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards? What would I have done with that extra money that would have made me more money, would have let me move away from working at the mall and working maybe for myself, or being able to get the equipment and gear that would let me work for a more established photographer in town because, I knew my skills, I had the right gear, and I was spending more of my time on photography and not spending those 6 or 8 or 10 hours at the mall. What if I was spending all of my time to polish a craft that could give me a career and give me a trade that made a decent living, instead of trading my time for money so often for so very little money? I always think about that, and that's why I make this content. Now, the thing I like about flipping and freelancing is that basically anybody could do it. I was able to do it as a teenager. I was able to get commission artwork as a teenager. And I was able to, sell Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic cards as a teenager. And I was able to do freelance work, again, for people from, ages 17 through my 20s. And those opportunities still exist today. And you could make money doing those things. Zazzle, Cafe Press, Spreadshirt, Teespring, people are making good money from this. When you flip these things online, when you sell shirts online, print on demand, like I told you in my specific video about this, I'll link to it down below, on selling t-shirts, you make like $5 to $7 depending on how you price and depending on what website you are using. So you have those opportunities to make money. The print on demand side of posters though, and graphic design artwork and phone covers and all these other things though, that's really interesting, and there's a lot of good money and margins there. And you just have to have the actual talent and ability to make something cool that people would want to buy. And if you make it niche specific, that's a really good hack for making more money with it. Now, in terms of Amazon affiliate marketing, like in my prime with Amazon affiliate marketing, when I had a very small audience compared to what I have now on YouTube, I was actually making really good money because I actually figured out that the margins on budget camera gear and budget laptops were really good. I was making $20 and $30 commissions on every single sale, which meant that by the time I made a certain amount of content, I was able to do very well. Now, my first month on Amazon, I only made $12. But within about 6 or 7 months, I was making upwards of $600 a month on Amazon because I had more content, and that was the key. I had enough content to get clicks by doing these camera reviews and product reviews, and it mattered. And I ultimately was reaching people who were real buyers and looking for the best deal for that budget. So that gear, those cameras and laptops under $1,000 made all the difference in the world for those people, and it was able to help me to earn more money. And eventually I started making about $1,200 a month on Amazon consistently. Now that ended up going away because around the time that Linus Tech Tips got knocked out of the Amazon affiliate program, they got back in. But me and a few other YouTubers, we got knocked out for the same reasons. We weren't really doing anything horrible or wrong. It literally was just them really being specific about the language and words you use for your disclosures. And that's why I made the template based on exactly what they say to disclose and how they want it, and no trading out the words and stuff like that. I made it exact. And so that's what's in the descriptions of all my videos. And that eventually I was able to get back into the partner program. I guess I wasn't a big enough YouTuber for them to just like take care of that when I updated all my links, and so I'm happy for Linus, but a lot of us at that time, same time, got kicked out of the program with no way back. And so now some of us got back in. There's a couple of people I know who still haven't been able to get back into Amazon, and it sucks. But that's why I talk about diversifying your revenue streams and doing these different things you can to make money, because what if one of them goes away? I try to plan so that I'm not relying on my YouTube ad revenue, my revenue from the affiliate links. By the way, links to all of my camera gear and budget YouTube gear for you guys, link down below. Check those out. It does help the channel. Yeah, I try to make sure that I have all these different income sources so that if one thing or two things go away, I'm not gonna be dramatically uncomfortable. I'm not gonna be happy about it, but I figured this out because sometimes those things happen in life. If you've ever been fired from a job, and a lot of you might be experiencing this right now, you know that one income source, one income stream is very anxiety inducing. And that's why I make this content. I've already been through it. I've been a broke kid struggling all the way through my teens, through my 20s, and I've known what it is to lose a job before one way or the other. And so when I've seen those things, when I've lived those things, I try to say, well, what would I have liked to know? What do I wish somebody had just told me that would have made a difference in my life? Because maybe I would have done things a little bit differently. So that's what I do on this channel, and that's why I try to share some of my story with you. So now you know how I made money online as a beginner, you know how I made money online as a teenager, and you know a little bit more about me. Maybe you know a little bit about how much of a nerd I am, if nothing else. All right, question of the day. What content could I make that would help you be more successful where you're at right now? Do you need more specific scenarios around how to make money online and do it in different ways? Let me know in the comments and I'll try and make some more of those videos for you. Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. In fact, do me a quick favor. I'm testing something out. Let's see if we can get this video to 1,500 likes. I'd really appreciate that. As always, you guys, thanks so very much for watching. And don't forget, go out there and create something awesome today. Take care.